Hello everybody, Gavin McCormack here. We have travelled all the way from Australia to Iceland for this course, A History of the Earth, a journey through time. Why have we come to Iceland? It is filled with life, and I'm not talking about animal life, although there is a lot. There is volcanoes here, there is lava, fissures, geysers. Literally, this place is completely alive. And this week, we're going right back to the very beginning. Yes, we're going back to the Big Bang, and we're here with Marcos. How are you?
Hey Gavin, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Now, Marcos is a geologist. Marcos, tell us, what does a geologist do?
Well, geologists study rock. They study the planet, not only our planet, but also planets that are in our solar system and all around. And we track back through time and we try to piece together the history of these places.
Cool. Now, the next 10 weeks, we're going to be spending it with you for a really important reason. You see, history is about going back in time and looking at the past. We're going back to the very beginning. In fact, we're going back to 13.8 billion years ago to the beginning of the universe, something called the Big Bang. Can you tell us what happened 13.8 billion years ago that shaped the entire universe and made it completely different?
So this is, of course, very hard for us to grasp and comprehend. It is so unimaginable, this big explosion that happened so far long ago. But physicists believe that there was a very, very tiny place where a lot of mass was concentrated, and 13.8 billion years ago this exploded into our known universe. So it was a very, very tiny place that concentrated a huge amount of both energy and matter.
So what we're talking about here, and it's really hard for our children to grasp at home, but something smaller than a grain of sand, everything in the universe was packed into there. There was a huge explosion. What came out of that explosion at the very beginning?
So from that very beginning, pretty much everything, all matter that we know of, was generated from there. So it had to, of course, expand at a super high speed, almost instantly. So in the very first seconds already, that very small speck of space started to grow and grow at a high speed. And even today, the universe, we know it's still growing.
And there were four really fundamental elements that were born on that day. What were they?
So closely after this Big Bang happened, matter started to shape in the atoms that we know of today. That wasn't possible in the very first seconds, but after a short period of time, atoms started to form. And those atoms were the very first atoms, were the less protons and less electrons, like hydrogen and helium and all up to lithium. But those are the only elements that were present in the beginning of time.
Now, 13.8 billion years has passed and there are so many more elements now. There's been some heating and some cooling and some coalescing and some collisions, and we have so many different elements now. Now, for our children at home, we have this origin, this 13.8 billion years ago, hydrogen is formed in the Big Bang. Now, just so that we're all aware, I, you, everybody who lives on the planet is about 10% hydrogen. In fact, hydrogen and oxygen, H2O, is water. We are 60% water. In fact, your brain is 75% water. So we could say that when the Big Bang occurred and those elements were formed, that the building blocks for our lives as humans and insects and plants were also formed.
Definitely. That came a little bit after, because in the beginning, as we said, it was only those elements and those elements alone. But what happened later is that some particular places in that universe that was formed were a little bit more dense. And what happened is that those elements started clumping together, forming the very first stars. And what happens in stars is that a huge amount of energy is released, and those elements generate new elements. They fuse together and they generate a huge amount of energy that can create new elements out of them. So then all of the rest of the elements that we know of, like the jacket that you're wearing, it's not only hydrogen and helium, it's a lot of different things. They formed into the bellies of the stars. So this fusion, this cooking of elements happen in stars.
Amazing. Now, if we look at our galaxy alone, the Milky Way, we have around 200 billion stars. That's 200 billion suns. Each one of those suns has around about 5 to 15 planets orbiting it. We are standing on one of those planets, Earth. How did it occur? How do we get from the Big Bang with hydrogen and helium and lithium and beryllium to suddenly having a planet that we can live on? How does that happen?
So again, that took a long time, but from that beginning of clumping together of stars in the beginning, these stars, some of those stars actually exploded and generated new dust that spread it around space and new elements as well. And eventually our galaxy, the Milky Way, that was a huge cloud of dust. And that dust started clumping together. Mostly that dust formed our sun. The sun that is 99% of the mass of our solar system is actually the sun, and all the rest of this dust of elements were the rest of our planets, one of them being Earth. Of course, the planets that are closest to our suns are these rocky planets, and the gas, these massive planets are these gassy planets were a little bit further away, and we know that now as our solar system. But it was those elements clumping together, forming what we know of today as our planet.
So what we're talking about here is a huge amount of gas, a huge amount of materials, elements thrown out into the universe, into the cosmos. Then they're coming together to form suns and stars and planets and moons. And one of them just happened to be Earth. We're in the perfect spot. Now, this week, we're going to start our mission over the next 10 weeks. We're studying SDG 15, Life on Land. And we're giving you 13 challenges for you to take on to try to preserve this planet we are so lucky to be standing on. We're surrounded by volcanoes. We've got basalt, we've got geological rock, lava, all the elements perfect for life to exist, and we want you to take an active role in preserving it. And we're going to do this over the next 10 weeks. Every single week we're going to be with Marcos and taking you through a journey of time from the Big Bang all to the present day and even into the future. Marcos, it's been amazing to hear your knowledge. Thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week.